Good morning. It's Tuesday, August 21st, 2019, and we're entering Mr. Z's classroom to see what kind of animals are in here this year, because it does change from year to year. Our first one in this aquarium is a Longnose Gar. We used to call them the alligator gar, but alligator gars are actually a different species. So this is a longnose, and he's been here for probably 25 years or more. He's one of the only animals that is not a rescue animal in this classroom. Almost every other animal is a rescue animal. Notice the sign. He does bite. This boy bites. So that's our alligator gar. He eats earthworms and goldfish. Don't stick your fingers in there even though there's no cover to it. This is our painted turtle. He came to us about the size of a quarter. He was very small, so we named him Squirt. I don't have names for all the animals. A lot of the Zoology Club members have names for the animals, but I just call them what they are, so I just call him the painted turtle. But sometimes I'll call him Squirt, and you can see why they call them painted turtles. They look like they've been designed. A designer turtle. Our next aquarium has salt water in it. It's a marine aquarium, a saltwater aquarium. This is our last living anemone. It survived since the end of last school year. And so I'm trying to keep them alive as long as possible. I do that with all the animals that we have, but usually the anemones don't survive that long. And then back there in the corner is an example of the other thing that's in here. They're called flame scallops. You can see why they call them flame scallops. They look like they're on fire. They're bright red and have all those fimbriae sticking out. There's another one over here. There should be a third one somewhere, but I don't know where he got off to. And then we have our other turtle. This is a red-eared slider. You can see why they call them red-eared sliders. He's got red ears, or she. And she's a lot bigger than the painted turtle. And good example of the characteristics of turtles compared to tortoises, because there is a difference. Turtles spend most of their time in the water, while tortoises spend most of their time or all their time on land, so they have adaptations for that. You'll be doing a lab next week that has you looking at those kind of characteristics, so you'll be comparing turtles and tortoises for yourself. Here's another turtle that we have, but this turtle kind of is the exception to the rule that turtles spend most of their time in water. This is a box turtle, and he spends most of his time on land, more like a tortoise. You can see why they call them box turtles. They can completely close up their shell like a box, both in the front and in the back. It's a good close-up view. Got really bright red eyes, and some of the other markings are reddish too. He's a very nice looking box turtle. In this big old aquarium, there's a Russian tortoise. And again, spends most of its time on land because it's a tortoise. Eats turtles, by the way, are omnivorous mostly. Carnivorous and omnivorous, meaning they eat mostly, they'll eat anything that's omnivorous like we are, but they a lot of times will eat mostly meat. Carnivorous. But tortoises are all herbivorous. They only eat vegetables, fruits and vegetables. So again, this is our Russian tortoise, and you can tell he's about the size of the box turtle, but he can't close his shell at all, either in the front or the back. His shell doesn't have any kind of hinges, doesn't move at all. Over here, we have our hermit crabs. There are two of them in here, and I don't know where the other one is, but I found this one, and he's not going to come out of his shell, but I just wanted you to know that we do have some hermit crabs, and we may be getting some more, because there's a Zoology Club member that keeps a lot of hermit crabs, has a lot of hermit crabs, so he said he might be wanting to get rid of them. This is our African lungfish. And this is I think it's about a 220-gallon aquarium, huge aquarium. And when I got this lungfish, I don't even remember how many years ago it was. He was only about maybe 20 inches long at the most, so he's a lot smaller than he is now. And I put him in this big aquarium when he was only 20 inches. People are saying, oh, why is he in such a big aquarium? Because I knew he was going to grow this big. So now he's about the size of half the aquarium. They call him a lungfish because he has lungs. So if you watch him, he'll go up to the surface and take a gulp of air now and then. So he's got both gills and lungs. He's got these limbs that are, they're technically fins because he's technically a fish, but he uses them not so much for swimming, but for kind of like feeling his way along the bottom and walking along the bottom. He's a carnivore. Here's our albino king snake. I'm going to try to get all these snakes out without a glove today. Some of them are a little more bitey than others. But California king snakes can have different patterns. They're all black and white, but they can have different patterns. And the pattern on this one, if he wasn't an albino, he would be all black with a white stripe running right down the middle of his back. As you can see, he's all white with a yellow stripe running right down the middle of his back. And that's because he's an albino. At this point, we have 9 snakes. So we have more snakes than anything else, than turtles and tortoises. Here we have our corn snakes. There are 2 corn snakes here, and they're both intertwined together. So I guess I'll just show them like that. Corn snakes are usually the color of the reddish one. The other one is another color morph. You'll find a lot of different color morphs in the pet trade. And these 2 are male and female. The female is the reddish one. The male is the darker one. And so we named them Lily and Snape. And they had a child. Actually, they have more than one child together. But we only have one of them here, and that is this guy, this little baby snake, little baby corn snake. And you can tell he looks like his mother, kind of the color that normally corn snakes are. They're also known as red rat snakes because they're reddish usually. So those are our corn snakes. Here we have our other king snake. So again, king snakes, United States king snakes anyway, or North American king snakes, tend to be black and white. So this is a different color morph, or color pattern I should say, of the king snake. And this guy will bite, so there's no real reason to get him out. I can show him to you like this. He might even try to bite the camera. He's very aggressive. He can be held though, but usually you want to distract them when you're getting any of these snakes out, especially the ones that are really bitey. You want to distract them with something else. Have them bite that instead of you when you get them out. But all of these snakes, we want to make sure they don't escape, because some of them have. So while we're over here, let's take a look at the bearded dragon. This is our bearded dragon. He's done quite well here for quite a while. We've had other bearded dragons in years past that haven't done so well, but he seems to be doing just fine. He eats primarily cockroaches, but we also give him some vegetables, fruits and vegetables, cut up fruits and vegetables. You can see that there in his dish. So that's our bearded dragon. Let's see where to go next. How about over here for the python? This is our ball python. She likes to hide under that log. She's not real bitey. She's never bitten anybody, actually. You still want to be careful with all the animals, though, because anything with teeth can bite. But they call them ball pythons because they like to kind of curl up in a ball. back up there, sort of. This cage stays closed just by being crammed under the cupboard there. It's in a really nice fit. Since I mentioned the cockroaches, let's go over and take a look at those. I pulled a couple out ahead of time because I thought I might have a hard time getting them out to show you. We got a male and a female here. So this is a female. You can tell she's a female because she doesn't have horns. And these guys are totally harmless. You can hold them and they won't bite you. They hardly even have the mouth parts to bite you with. This is a male. He's a little younger, a little smaller. Whoop, and he just hissed. I don't know if you heard it, but you can see that he's got horns. If the camera will, or my phone will focus here. So that's how you can tell male from female. The females, I think, tend to be a little larger too. Alright, so Madagascar hissing cockroaches. Get the lid back on, because they will crawl right up and out. Here we have a millipede. Oops, I didn't crack the cage open, sorry about that. So that's our millipede. So you don't want to confuse them with centipedes. Centipedes are carnivorous predators, where millipedes are herbivorous scavengers, basically. And the other difference between millipedes and centipedes, well, centipedes can be venomous, yeah, and millipedes are poisonous. So it's a great example of the difference between the two. Venom is injected and poison is ingested, in other words, eaten. So you don't want to eat millipedes because they can be poisonous. And you don't want to get stung by a centipede because they can be venomous. Here's our rose-haired tarantula. If you don't like spiders, you probably don't want to be looking at the screen right now, and unfortunately we have this really nasty glare. I guess I'll pull the cage out so we can get a better view. If you are really afraid of spiders, don't worry. I'm not going to force you to get close to, or, well, I want you to get close to it just to be able to observe it while it's in its cage, but you'll never be asked to touch it or hold it or anything. But she can be held. She's, you know, this species is relatively docile. You know, they won't try to bite you like every chance they get or anything like that. So that's our rose-haired tarantula, Chilean rose-haired tarantula from Chile. Over here we have our milk snake. And you can see she's very brightly colored. Red and black and tan. That tan can be referred to as yellow, so there's a limerick that goes along with this snake. And it goes, red on black, venom lack, red on yellow, kill a fellow. So you'll notice that the red bands are in the middle of black bands. That means she lacks venom. But if this was a coral snake, then the red bands would be inside yellow bands, or in this case maybe the tan bands, and that would indicate it was a coral snake and therefore venomous. So you'd want to avoid it, of course. She has escaped 3 times and always been found, always made her way back here. She made her way back here because people found her and we got her back. We've got some goldfish too, but we only keep goldfish to feed the animals with. So for example, the Longnose Gar eats goldfish. And I think that's about everybody except for the skink here. And this skink is always hiding. There she is. She's almost impossible to get a hold of because she's a maniac. and she's always hiding. She always wants to bury herself. She doesn't like to be held at all. So I don't know if you can see her back there, but she's got her head buried in the substrate. I'm not even going to try to pick her up anymore, but she's closely related to Schneider skink. I don't think she is a Schneider skink. She doesn't have the coloration of a Schneider skink. She's another species, and I looked it up once, but now I don't remember what it was. There she is. Well, she almost cooperated, so you can get a look at her. There she is. Hi, skink. She's all tired. Look at her breathing hard. So that's our skink. Here's one of our common Columbian boa constrictors. We have two of them. This is the smaller one. This is Orion. We used to have Artemis and Orion, two of them. They both came together from the APL. Somebody left them in their apartment. But that's a common Columbian boa constrictor, called so because they constrict, meaning they wrap around their prey and squeeze until the prey is dead. Here's the other one, a little bigger, a little darker, and actually more friendly too. Might be because he's bigger. When they're younger, they tend to be a little more aggressive to protect themselves. And then in this aquarium is a rainbow boa. So it's in the same family as the common Columbian boas. The family's known as Boidae, but it's a lot smaller and a lot different coloration. A rainbow boa, and you can kind of see why they call them rainbow. It's the iridescence. It's not their base color that makes them rainbow. It's the way the light shines off of them. Their scales kind of act like prisms and give off what kind of looks like a rainbow. So that's a rainbow boa constrictor. Very pretty snake. And over here we have an eastern water snake that hasn't been handled all summer long, and I'm going to go ahead and reach in here and try to pick him up and see if he bites me. Nope. Good. It's always good not to get bitten. Should try to get the light right here. Eastern water snake. So you can just find them in bodies of water all over the eastern United States. And what I've been feeding him over the summer, because he just came to us towards the end of last school year, what I've been doing is just leaving a goldfish in his bowl in the cage twice a week. And that's what he's been eating. And I think that's about it. So welcome to Mr. Z's classroom, and if you want to experience these animals more closely on a regular basis, you're welcome to join us for Zoology Club. But otherwise, welcome to the course, and I'll see you in class.